Hey guys, so I recently made another custom Super Mario Bros. Wonder level using the Fushigi level editor. I knew I'd be releasing this one around Christmas time, so it basically had to be a snow level, but there's actually basically no snow-specific enemies in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so I decided to make some. I exported the Snow Poke model from Super Mario 3D World and imported it over the Wonder Poke, though I did keep some spikes on its head since I wouldn't be able to make it to where the player can jump on the Snow Pokey. Another thing I came up with was using the roller skate Koopas, but of course, instead of roller skates, it would make much more sense for them to be wearing ice skates. So I modeled those myself and also recolored the Koopas to make it more obvious that they were different. And then it was time to start working on the level. The Fushigi level editor has been updated quite a bit recently, which should be pretty obvious since every model including the terrain and the background now gets rendered properly. Though once again, the editor is still far from finished. A lot of basic things are still a struggle to do, and a lot of advanced stuff isn't supported at all. For example, using custom enemy models, like I was doing for this level, would actually cause weird visual glitches within the editor. Anyways, so how about the level's design? Honestly, I mostly just used the ice skating Koopas and Snow Pokies because I had the idea for their remodels. But it's not like these two enemy types really complement each other that well, so I had to find another mechanic that would interact nicely with both of them. That ended up being the Bouncy Mushrooms, which the original Roller Skate Koopa level also briefly used. Since both enemies have the ability to bounce, I figured it'd make for a good mechanic to use in this level. As you'll see later on, this bouncy mechanic also ended up tying into the level's wonder effect. I also used a few donut blocks throughout the level, which was mainly because I'd already thought of a funny way of combining those with the bouncy mushrooms later on in the level. Something I noticed after finishing my previous custom Wonder level is that I barely used Wonder Buds in that level. Certainly not as much as Nintendo tended to use them throughout Wonder's original levels. So that's something I tried to improve for this level. There's Wonder Buds doing all sorts of stuff all over the place. Something I had to learn for this level was using culling areas. You might be aware of what culling is. It's basically just the game loading or unloading assets depending on whether they're on screen or not. As far as I understand it, culling areas basically make the game treat every object that is attached to the area as one big object, meaning everything gets loaded or unloaded at the same time, even if they're not exactly in the same spot. This is necessary for certain setups throughout the level, like if I want two ice skating Koopas to load in at the same time so they synchronize, I have to link both of them to a culling area. But even more confusingly, Pokies seem to either be buggy or poorly programmed when it comes to loading and unloading. So just to be safe, I basically attached every single one of them to their own culling area alongside the platforms they're supposed to spawn on. Although most of Super Mario Bros. Wonder's objects are way more dynamic than they've ever been in the series before, checkpoint flags in this game are actually super limited. As opposed to New Super Mario Bros. U, in Wonder they don't even have an option to use gravity, which means unique or interesting checkpoint setups are basically impossible to do in this game. The way that tiling terrain works in Fushigi was changed in a recent update, and honestly I kind of hate the way the system works now. The way I understand it is that it's now supposed to intelligently determine from which point you're trying to place your next point, but in reality it seems to always pick anything except for the point I actually want it to pick. Whereas previously I believe it would always generate a point from the point you've got selected, which makes a lot more sense in my opinion. At least other terrain related stuff is a lot better now, like the fact that terrain that's placed further in the background will actually appear behind objects now, which makes decorating way more intuitive. Anyways, so here's an idea that I had basically the moment I knew I was going to use bouncy mushrooms in this level, which is swapping between mushrooms and donut blocks, which makes for a funny setup here. In general, I'm sure I'll be able to use the fact that any object in this game can be spawned or despawned very easily a lot throughout my future levels. That's not something that's possible in New Super Mario Bros. U, for example. One of the things I always try to come up with before even starting a level is how I'll hide the star coins, or I guess in Wonder's case, the purple 10 coins. What I originally came up with for the second 10 coin of this level was going to be very simple, just an ice skating Koopa moving away from the player that you'd have to chase down for the 10 coin. But the problem with that is that the ice skating Koopas are pretty slow, and it's probably a bit too simplistic of an idea regardless. So I ended up changing it into a very complicated bonus room setup instead. Since I'd really emphasized the Wonder Buds throughout this level so far, I decided I'd have the player basically create a path using the Wonder Buds for a skating Koopa which had the 10 coin. At this point, I accidentally didn't record a small part of the level creation process where I started working on the Wonder Flower segment. The idea for it was obviously to replace all of the terrain with these bouncy blocks. These matched the bouncy mushroom and also the color of the ice terrain, so yay, custom wonder effect, I guess. Normally, terrain can't just be deleted by a wonder effect, so for this section I had to use these special object versions of terrain that don't properly get rendered in Fushigi, but these can actually be deleted by a wonder effect. Surprisingly, even though enemies like Pokies do bounce on these bouncy blocks, more common objects like Wonder Buds or Talking Flowers don't. So honestly, this section didn't end up feeling as dynamic as I'd hoped. It also ended up having to be pretty empty in certain places because simply bouncing on the blocks already proved to be quite a big challenge, so adding too many enemies would also just ramp up the difficulty way too much. Of course, maybe the biggest challenge of designing a wonder effect section is the fact that the section also has to function if you don't hit the wonder flower. Like, there's this tunnel section that has this pipe that spawns ice skating Koopas if you don't trigger the wonder flower, but if you do trigger it, that pipe gets despawned completely. The weirdest thing for this particular wonder effect was that the terrain had to consist of these 4x4 tile chunks all the way through, so it could probably be replaced by the bouncy blocks, so that can look a bit odd in places. I also blocked off the start and the end of the effect, since I didn't exactly feel like replacing the entire level with these blocks. Even this small section already took an hour or two to set up. The final part of the level ended up being very simple. It's basically just one last setup with each mechanic. So there's some ice skating Koopas, a Pokey, a donut block, and a bouncy mushroom. The level ended up being very long, probably longer than an average Wonder level. Maybe it should have used 2 checkpoints, I don't know. The last thing to do at this point was adding decorations all over the place. For the most part, I used the same decorations as the original 2-1. But yeah, with that done, the level was finished, so let's check it out in-game. Alright, here we are. We've got some ice skating Koopas right at the start, because I guess those aren't that special of a mechanic, and also there's a hidden block there, because why not? The original game also has hidden blocks all over the place. You can actually quite easily kill the Pokies with the drill power-up in this level, and that was very much intentional, because that's kind of the point of having the drill in this level, I suppose. I don't think every single level that has the drill power-up has to have, like, the drill-specific secrets or anything like that. It's also fine if it just makes the level a little bit less of a pain to get through. And, yeah, there's just little secrets all over the place in this level. Like, there's this brick block here with a bunch more, like, normal coins and purple coins. And I guess even that jump arc there can be considered a secret. I think everyone's going to hit that. Speaking of getting hit, I suck at my own level, apparently. Oh, can I even hit this Wonder Bud? Oh my god. Of course, hitting this Wonder Bud here allows you to get this purple 10 coin over here. And also you can quite easily kill that Pokey with the drill power-up, so I guess you don't really have to do that if you've already got drill, because you could have just done that even before hitting the Wonder Bud. But whatever. We've got some more donut blocks here to kind of reinforce that mechanic. It doesn't really end up being a huge part of the level, the donut blocks, but I still think it's a fine little additional thing here and there. And then here, I couldn't resist having another enemy generator in my level, just like I had in my previous level with the spikes and the Goombas. Just because it makes so much sense for the ice skating Koopas to use the enemy generator. And here's another little secret with the Wonder Buds, because yeah, I can't resist those. And I think that's also, it's ended up being quite an integral part of this level, the Wonder Buds and stuff. It's funny here how those Koopas actually managed to perfectly jump over that Pokey, though not that one there, because it kind of didn't come there from the right position. This second tank on here was definitely a bit of an afterthought, because I didn't even really, like, I added this after I'd already basically finished the level, and I just, like, realized, oh wait, I need another 10 coins, so I just yeah, changed that up a little bit, and I think it works alright, I suppose. Here, I feel like this section here ended up feeling a little bit empty. I did add that little hidden question mark block there still, but I feel like that maybe wasn't quite enough. It still feels a little bit, yeah, like just a little bit not as interesting as the rest of the level. It's also partially just because I wanted to reintroduce the mechanics after the midway, because I always like to do that kind of stuff. But yeah, it ended up making this section feel not as interesting maybe as the other part of the level. Here I kind of waited there to show that that donut block does actually change into the mushroom property if you wait for the donut block to respawn. But obviously, because most people are going to go into that section while the donut block is falling down, that wouldn't really work, that effect. So it's a bit of a shame, but whatever. We've got the same sort of trick that led us into this bonus room here, where we can lead this this ice skating Koopa around. I had some people comment that like maybe this is inspired by some stuff like this in Kirby games, and I have played a lot of Kirby games, and I do like those games. And I even recently replayed Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the deluxe version, but I can't say that was specifically inspired by that. Maybe it was like subconsciously something I thought about, but yeah, whatever. It made for a very fun bonus room either way. It's not something that I think Nintendo has ever really done before. It's just a fun little section like that. Here I've got some more ice skating Koopas, and I suck, so I got hit. And has anyone noticed that with that wonder flower there, the donut block kind of makes like a Christmas tree? That wasn't really intentional. I just noticed that after the fact, and I realized, hey, that's like kind of funny. But yeah, of course, here we've got the custom wonder effect. Oh my god, whoa, custom! How'd you do this? It's amazing. It's obviously just a bunch of objects that got spawned and despawned. Including the ground, which is like done using a special kind of actor, which is really cool, and I'm happy I discovered that. But it's not like this whole setup is really anything too crazy. It just took a lot of effort because I had to make sure all of these bouncy blocks were linked properly, and that took a long time. But for the most part, it was actually a very simple setup, like very simple section to design for me. It just ended up being a lot of effort behind the scenes, sort of. I guess maybe after we're done with the main part of the level, which, I mean, we nearly are, I can show the non-wonder version of that section, because it does also work quite differently if you don't get the bouncy effect, of course. And yeah, here towards the end, I guess I spam a bunch of Koopas, because kind of gotta sort of have a crescendo with those mechanics, and same with the Pokey, and there we go. So I guess now let's check out the non-wonder version of that section. Okay, we're back. So this wonder flower is actually very much in the main route, so it's kind of hard for me to just skip over it like that. It feels kind of wrong, but yeah, you can do that, and this whole section feels quite different. Like there's this additional pokey here, there's some donut blocks, and you also see those Koopas there falling off that ledge there, because yeah, they're getting spawned by this pipe generator here, and a second one I suppose for this level. It does look a little bit odd the way they spawn from the vertical pipe there, but I suppose it's fine. Here this whole section is also quite different. You'll notice even this semi-solid here isn't here at all if you use the bouncy effect. And then here this section is also completely different. There's even like some additional secrets with those blocks we just spawned, and these coins that are here as well. And also, if you don't get the Wonder Flower, you also don't get that additional power-up block here, because you've had power-up blocks throughout the section before that. But anyways, with that, the level is done. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this time-lapse video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like on the video, and maybe leave a comment with some suggestions for other potential custom levels I can make, or anything like that. Thank you guys so much for watching, see you later, and bye-bye!